So I just watched The Smashing Machine, and that movie was pretty stinking good, I can't lie. I think it did kind of a little bit just sort of like start to feel a little long towards the end, but like pretty much at that point the movie was like over, so I guess it ended in a pretty good spot. But the movie was pretty much about like Mark Kerr and like the other people who were like establishing like the beginnings of like MMA and like the UFC and stuff, and that was pretty cool. And the other that was like one big branch of the movie, I'd say, and then like the other big branch is like Mark Kerr, who was played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which was really cool because the other half was like about him and his relationship. I think the lady's name was Dawn. I do not remember what the actress's name was, but might have been Amelia Blunt. That's probably wrong, but that's my guess. And those were kind of like the two things, the two main points, like the beginning of like that, like fighting and stuff, and then like his relationship, which was also a lot of fighting. And both were just like really like well done, you know, just like their arguments and stuff just like felt so like real. Like it almost felt like if like those moments genuinely like happened, which like it did because it was based on a real story, but it just felt like they just captured that, and like there was just like a camera in the room, you know what I'm saying? And like we were just like watching that, and that was really like impressive, I'd say. And then the other impressive part is just like the fights. Granted, like no match like really went on for that long, but like I feel like they also just did like the fighting scenes good, I guess, which like, I mean, it makes sense. Like these people are like professionals, you know, especially like The Rock. Obviously that's like his specialty, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's no surprise that he was good in that department. But it was a really good movie, honestly. Like especially like the drama. Well, not the drama, that feels wrong to say, but it's just like the relationship between him, Mark, and Dawn was really, really well done, I feel like, because like you just felt like the tension and just like discomfort, and it was really good. It was really good. Oh my god. And then pretty much the movie, to get into spoilers now, I guess the movie pretty much like the story, the way I guess it pretty much goes. First of all, the opening scene with like him doing like a little voiceover, like a little intro, the song that was playing was so good, and it was just like a really good intro, honestly. And then it pretty much just goes like right into it, because like I said, like the two main branches of story that are like important is like the fights that he's doing and his relationship with Dawn, and that's pretty much the whole movie. And like that's not a negative thing, you know, because it really does like captivate in a good way. And pretty much like the way the story goes is pretty much like he does a fight with like some guy in Japan, which is pretty much like where most of the movie takes place, I think, and Arizona, which I think is like his home place. And pretty much like he goes to do this fight in Japan, and then he gets hit with like illegal moves. Like the person fighting him kept like kneeing him in the head, and then they pretty much like, at first they say like he won the fight, but then like he was like, yo, that's like illegal and stuff. And then they pretty much like mark it as like a no contest. But then he's still like pretty upset about that. And then towards this point, it pretty much also establishes that he's like doing drugs and stuff. Like, you know, that was pretty unexpected, honestly. And then he ends up having like a not an accident, but he has like a, like he like passes out and stuff, and like he gets sent to the hospital and stuff. And then like his friend Mark Coleman is like another person in the UFC and stuff, and then he pretty much like visits him in the hospital, and he's like, dude, you don't gotta lie to me, I know you're shooting up, man, you know. And then he starts crying, and that was pretty good, pretty emotional. And then he pretty much like goes to rehab, he gets like sober with the stuff, and then his relationship with Dawn is bad, dude. It is like Like you just watch it and it's just like wow, I feel like I shouldn't be watching this. It's like so like uncomfortable, you know. But it's like that's how you know it's good, you know. That's how you know it's a good thing. And then it pretty much does that, and then it set up like a big tournament in Japan that all these people are like competing in and stuff. And then he does his matches and stuff, but then he ends up losing one of his matches. Like he doesn't even get to the finale, like the final match. Like he just loses, and then like honestly, the movie pretty much ends after that. Like he's just like he gets like his stitches. They show the rest of the tournament play out, and then it shows Mark Coleman, like his friend, ends up winning the tournament, and then like they do like a modern day like time skip, you know, and then they show like the actual Mark Kerr like in this day. And they showed him like getting groceries as they were like being like, oh, Mark Kerr and like Dawn have been together and have a child and have been married and stuff. And I was like, why are we watching this guy getting groceries? You know, I don't know if that had any significance or whatever, but I was just like, what are we doing here? Another thing that I think was really funny is like he kept, anytime he like referred to his stomach, he called it his tummy, which I think is the funniest thing, because he's like this big muscular like titan of a man, and he's like, oh yeah, you know how it affects my tummy. You know, I just thought that was great, and the movie was great. Like I said, I think it did kind of like fluff a little like towards the end. I was like, we can wrap this up now, you know, and then they did, so I appreciate that. Overall, my rating, during the whole thing I felt really good about giving it an 8. Now I feel a little bit more like a really strong 7, you know, because like an 8 is starting to feel like we're entering territory that's like maybe not like, you know, all the way there. Another thing is the music was really good. Like they picked really good songs throughout the whole thing, and I really liked that. I think it really stole the show. Like every scene was really elevated by the music, which was awesome. So comfortable, strong 7. That's not a bad movie at all. Not a bad movie. I was really looking forward to it. I enjoyed it, and now we got to 7. And that's also the end of this. Yes, it is. 7 minutes.